cisgender woman, but nobody's perfect. Listen, I am here to talk about visibility in death, the one topic that everyone always avoids. I'm a deathcare professional and working on my mortuary science degree at Cincinnati College of Mortuary Science. Being an advocate for all of us in the queer community has been something I'm most dedicated to, as my wife and I have been together for 20 years, and most of my amazing friends are in the queer community and the trans and non-binary community. So how can we protect trans and non-binary identities from being erased when you enter the death system? How do we ensure that the people entrusted with your legacies actually deserve to hold that power? Like Alicia said, this is a tough conversation. Having it is vital, but we have to recognize how deeply personal and deeply emotional it is. So if you need a moment, absolutely step away. Talk off the cuff like Felicia does. So a while ago, when I started mortuary school, I was browsing this website that carries cute funeral-themed t-shirts. They said things like, funeral babe, cremate the patriarchy, future mortician, things like that. But there was one that I really loved. It said, death isn't racist, life shouldn't be either. And as I clicked to put it in my cart, I thought about it for a moment, because we hear that all the time, right? Death is the great equalizer. Everyone eventually dies. Black, white, rich, poor, cis, trans, queer, straight, everyone. But deep in my heart, I knew that the circumstances around death and the death system here in America are anything but impartial. For instance, I knew that LGBTQ teens are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their peers. The Trevor Project reported in 2022 that 45% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered suicide in the last year, including more than half of trans and non-binary youth. Since the FBI started tracking hate crimes against trans people in 2013, 302 deaths by violence have been documented, the victims being overwhelmingly people of color under 35 years old. And these are just the ones we know about. A recent article on TalkDeath.com talks about the author's experience writing obituaries for a nonprofit that's focused on telling trans stories to save trans lives. When sifting through police reports and news articles to collect accurate information, they found that a staggering 70% of trans and non-binary people were misgendered and or deadnamed by police and the media. A further disrespect heaped upon these precious lives that were already taken too soon. When people come into our care at the funeral home, where I work, we're tasked with collecting some very personal information about them. This includes things like birth date and location, parents' names, marital status, death date and location, and gender. This is one of our duties that's necessary for things like filing death certificates and getting burial or cremation permits. Most of this information comes from legal documents or next of kin, whether that's a spouse, an adult child, a parent, a sibling, etc. But whomever it is, we have to rely on the information they give us, even if the person we're caring for might be presenting as a gender different than what the family is telling us. The frustrating reality of our position is that oftentimes legal next of kin has someone that person has been estranged from for a very long time and for very good reasons. They can tell us whatever they want in terms of names and pronouns of the deceased. They can bring us whatever clothing they want that person to be put in for a viewing. They can use whatever photo they want for the obituary, and they can choose to hold private services, restricting romantic partners, friends, and chosen family from attending their loved one's funeral, a vital part of the grieving process. And I wish with all my heart, I'm getting emotional, that I could be beside each and every one of you, protecting you from the behemoth that is the funeral industrial complex, in a callous, antiquated legal system that's apathetic at best and predatory at worst. But I simply cannot be in every hospital room, county morgue, or funeral home. But what I can do is empower you with the tools and education you need to protect yourselves and the people you love. I put together an information packet. It's back there on the table. that contains a quick and easy form that you can fill out in minutes that will designate someone to make decisions about your funeral and your bodily remains that will supersede any next of kin. It also includes information about things that will help that person, your end-of-life planning essentials, like nominating healthcare power of attorney, making advance directive or living will, which will empower someone you trust to advocate for you when you cannot. Creating a living trust will also help your advocate by automatically conferring your estate and skipping the long process of probate. And when you fill out these forms, ensure that you speak to the person you're nominating. Have these tough conversations. Let them know what you'd like to happen at your funeral, what you want to happen with your remains after the funeral, and why you're entrusting them with this very important task. And once you have these in place, let other people know. Tell your friends, your family, your doctor, your partner, your neighbors, everyone. This ensures that no detail is missed and helps ease the burden on the people who love you during one of the most difficult experiences there is. Most people don't know, but there are 88 decisions to be made during funeral arrangements. 88. It's a lot of ground to cover when someone's already overwhelmed by the enormity of loss. And a lot of people will balk at having these conversations because they are tough. But caring for our dead is such an integral part of what it means to be human that it's literally in our name. The word humanity comes from the Latin humanitas, which means to bury. When trans identities are erased by misinformation and disinformation, perpetuated by hostile legal systems, adversarial media, hateful religious institutions, and demeaning family members, your very humanity is being denied. We're living in a time where trans and gender non-conforming bodies and lives are being continually put up for debate and targeted for not only personal, but institutionalized violence. So the rest of us had better stand up and start showing some basic fucking human decency. And together, we can protect the myriad of beautiful identities that you all have fought so very hard for. A death without dead names. Thank you.